Good morning. Today is Monday, October 24th, 2022. It is 9:28 Eastern Standard Time in the morning. And looking at the regular trading hours bar chart here, just a couple things to point out. We've got an engulfment to the upside, and we have about a 10-point gap at the moment. It's been higher, okay? And we want to talk about where the simple moving average is. It is at 36.84, so that may play a role today. We're just above this trading range that I've identified for myself. You may like a different trading range, but I've put, let me see if I can mark these here. There you go. If you want to pause it, if anybody's interested, it's just from this initial low to this first swing high here. And then we came below it, and it came all the way to the other side, popped out, and fell back through it, came down, came in, looked below it, came in, went above it. So I'm calling this the trading range, but that line of demarcation there is 37.50-ish, okay? So once we move back down there, so that would be actually Thursday's high. If we get below there, there may be some undercurrents pulling it, or some gravity to the downside, maybe coming back down towards this 20 moving average. Just things to keep in mind. But we do have a trend indicator. MACD is positive. Hasn't really pulled off yet. It's just been steadily going. We've got a lot of room for short covering above. You can see right here, you've got these highs up here, and you've got some strong moves down that could roll back, right? And I'll talk about that. I've identified some reference points. Really want to make this video short, but I say that all the time, and it isn't going to happen probably. So, nevertheless, it's the beginning of the week. It's okay to let some things shake out. We don't have a heavy news day. We've got some things I think at 9:45, but I already closed my my list for that. Okay, so we're right above last week's high at 37.77 quarter. I didn't really factor that in too much into this morning. So let me pull in. I want to pull in something else I don't usually pull in, and that's going to be a weekly profile, because these are important too. So again, if this is any interest to you, you might want to jot these down. So we've got a weekly volume point of control up at 37.94, right? And then I also want to do this. I'm gonna merge these together. I kind of want to talk about something that happens often. So, one of the stories, as it may play out, and if you don't have a chart like this, I recommend creating one to reference, is we could get, very often these concave areas become backfilled, as it were, So if we do move down, it's down to the 20 moving average, I believe I said was at 36.94 or 36.84. Yeah, well, it's at 36.90 right now. So that's right down here. And I can see this happening, where we just rotate back and forth. I mean, it may have one time framing down and one time framing up and so on, but just a visualization of how the bars may be painting. Just something to be advised of. I'm going to move off of this, even though I think there was one more thing I want to point out about it, but that's okay. For the sake of brevity, let's just keep on trucking here. All right, so looking at the profile, before we get to the stories, I want to just lay the land here. This is our overnight trading, and I did the same thing I did on Friday. I merged the past three. I merged Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday together to create a value area high of the past three sessions. Just happens to be the overnight low. How about that? It also happens to be the overnight high from 10/19 of just a couple days ago. So there's something about this little spot right here, and we want to watch it. It's just a short trip from the value area high of Friday down to there. So if we do get a move below the value area high, before we start thinking of coming back in and looking for a rejection of that, be careful of the games where little fake outs, because if we get below here, we may or may not take out the overnight low, but that would be back inside this value area high. And then the pivot point is right down here at 37.30. Pivot point just, I'm not going to say it acts like a magnet, but it seems like that. The market sometimes will just go there at some point in the day and then either reverse or get under it or above it and then kind of launch from it. We saw that on Friday, by the way. So the pivot point's down here. So if we get a move below the overnight low, and very often, depending on who's in control, and again, we don't have a major news event scheduled that I'm aware of, and the short time frame traders, the proverbial stop runs or whatever, they'll go through a visual reference by 1 tick to 12 tick. It used to be like 8 ticks, but now it can be like 16. 4-point move to flush people out, however that benefits them, liquidity or whatever. So anyway, this is from 36 down to 30. So that's 6 points. So it's a bit of a ways. But just beware that's there. So what does that translate into? Be impatient or be prepared to get chopped up and maybe have to try a few times. So don't risk a lot. I'm talking to myself here. If you want to try that, you may get swift rejection, but if you don't, you may have to take a couple shots. So anyway, so another important thing to point out is that on Friday we had a spike. So we've opened above that spike. Got a lot of territory here to cover. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me just undo the merges here and bring this together. Okay, right here where L period popped out of J, when we closed up here towards the top, and the settles right next to the 4 p.m. Eastern close, 3 p.m. Central. So we got a spike in here. Just visualizing some things. We got this huge overnight range. If we did come down, and we're not right now, we're coming higher, but if we were to come down, close the gap and whatnot, and come down to the spike. So each one of these, I want to put these all on par with each other. You got the prior high a day, well, sort of on par with each other. The prior high a day, the spike base, you've got the value area high and the value area high from the past 3 sessions. So, if we got some long liquidation, and we're going to note that by a B-shaped profile, well, that could actually happen up here, somewhere above the prior high of day, somewhere between the prior high of day and the spike base, and then, or maybe even come down here and some overlap in a B shape between the value area high and the spike base, or lower. What does all this mean? Well, if we get long liquidation, that's profit taking, and basically means that at some point it may resume its move to the direction it came from. So be aware of that. Also be aware of how value develops. It looks like it's kind of developing up here right now, but it's kind of thin up here higher. But the way the market's moving right now, I'm talking about all the areas it doesn't seem maybe it'll even get to today. But we've got a long day ahead. All right, so let's move into the stories. I hope that was useful. If not, I apologize. I'm doing my best today because if you can hear my voice, I've got something I'm contending with here. All right, so the story is gap up 10 points, rotate within overnight range above the prior high day. Well, it's sort of looks like that's unfolding at the moment. So trade responsibly until one time framing develops. So we're going to need. Well, actually, let me check on the overnight inventory here real quick. See where we are. If we're one time framing up. No, we're not one time framing up or down at the moment. So we want to see if one time framing develops, right? And or there's a shift in the perception of value. So right now, the value in the overnight was higher, and the value right now it's in range in value of the overnight session. All right, so there hasn't been any shift in perception. Excuse me. So the next thing to be, and this has not happened yet, gap up, close the gap, and reject from the late spike. Now, I guess, I don't know if I put this in here anywhere, I don't remember now. Rotate with an overnight range above prior high day. This is going to encapsulate, if we get down and we did try to close the gap. It looks like didn't make it. But, you know, you got to watch for rejection of the prior high day. The same as the spike. That's why I went through these references. The prior high day, the spike, the value area high, and then the merged session value area high. So you could trade those kind of the same way, you know, prairie dog them, or, you know, just watch for, well, I already said I wasn't going to talk about how to trade these things. I'm just going to tell you these areas where there may be a change or not a change. And, all right. Okay. So we want to watch from a counter move or rejection from the spike or prior day's range. Excuse me. And then this should just say 3A. Or, excuse me, number 3. This, I didn't erase it. Sorry. Develop value above the value area high. Rejection. This, of course, means if we get down in range. Develop value above the value area high. Rejection from the value area. Rotate within the overnight range. As I said, we got quite a big range that could encapsulate a rotation. B-shaped profile below the prior high day at 37.69.5. So if strongly rejected, look for ladder rungs for a possible shift to story 6. So what I mean by ladder rungs is just looking for, you know, climbing up these bars of reference points and finding ways to kind of resistance becomes support situation, however you do it. All right, number 6, story 6 is to gap up 10 points, take out the overnight high, destination, inflection points above, which I'll touch on. Well, the gap and go, did try to close the gap. Gap and go to me means like it gaps and it's just open test and drive or open drive and off and away we go. But at this point, when we shift down to story 6, that's going to be a later day, maybe later morning, counter-directional move higher. So let's say we come down here and we come down to the value area high and stuff. We get strongly rejected, we move on back out. You know, we start coming back up this way and roll over to the upside. So that's what that's talking about. Excuse me. All right, keep our eyes on the merge profile from the last 3 sessions. We want to develop value above the value area high and rejection from merged value area. Rotate within overnight range, a B-shaped profile. These are all little signs, you know, that we're watching for. And if those happen, we're going to trade responsibly or watch from a prairie dog entry from the pivot point below the overnight low or the overnight low itself. That's one possible way to respond to that area. But be careful. Be careful. And then acceptance below the value area and the merged value area high. So this is important that we keep that in mind, that these two are pretty close together. So just because you see something happening between the value area high and the merged value area high, just be careful, because we really need that to happen below the merged value area high. And then watch for the 80% rule to the downside. One of the signs would be, you know, one-time framing lower, and if it does, or if we get all of a sudden a fast move, just watch out for the prior week's high at 3,700, just a psychological number. And actually, you know what? That should not say prior week's high. Just watch for 3,700. That's all it should say. Again, I'm dealing with some other things this morning. You know, I can tell I may have a head cold here. So it's my excuse. All right, 3,700 critical inflection point, as well as the 20 SMA, simple moving average, which is currently at 36.90.75. So I need to change that. So just, you know, you got to watch it on your own chart. This is a terrible thing for drawing. All right, 36.90.75 is where it is right now. And then that brings us into 6, which gap and go didn't really happen. The backer kind of looks like we're rolling down to come down to the early morning low right now. And then, you know, watch out for, basically, I don't think this really happened. Later day counter directional move higher. Watch for rejection from the prior high day, spike, value areas. And it's very important also, if we do go higher, the week of October 2nd, volume point of control is at 37.94, and I talked to you about that. So, all right, that's all I've got. Thank you for your patience. If you've listened to this video, and we'll check back, and I'll see how I've done. I haven't, you know, I've been taking Alka-Seltzer Plus and stuff, and I can tell it's already affected me a bit. You know, just the not feeling sharp and the medication. So I got to be very careful. It already was. I was doing a little work earlier, and it affected me. You know, and so that's not good. So I got to be careful. All right, make a great day. Thank you for hanging in there, and maybe we'll see you later. Bye.